Good day, students. Today's our topic of our lecture is chemical composition of smell. So, what is the smell? It's the kind of the volatile chemicals which is catched by our receptors by our olfactory system. So those olfactory system in our nose, then we can feel that as a perception, smell, odor, and flavor, etc. How does work the smell? So it's one of the our most primate senses. So it's supposedly prehistoric people were more influenced by smell than the other senses. So the human nose is capable of detecting thousands of different odor substances. So, however, our sensitivity is much less than the other animals. So if we had kind of five taste uh, tastes, but in smell and odor, we can find of the different of the thousands substances, which is giving the sense of smell. So how does it work? So there should be volatile chemicals, which is soluble in our mucosa, of course in our nose, and then it should be detected by our receptors. So what is the important aspect of the flower? So it's the olfactory receptors, but only about 1,000 tastes receptors. So odor description requires the development of any odor flavor memory, if it's fishy, flowery, woody, etc. So this is the base of flavor odor memory development by wine judges and milk cheese graders, and individual vary and a great deal in their sensitivity to different odor and aromas. So in our lecture, we will take the what is the smell value, and then chemical composition of the smell. So uh, particularly took the substances which is giving the certain odor and aroma, and kind of interesting facts about smell, and the conclusion. So the ability of distinguish odor is called olfaction. So using our olfactory system, so it still has about 50 million olfactory epithelial receptors in nose of a person. For example, in a dog, it's over 200 million of them. So which are bare nerve endings, and then this indicated that sense of smell is one of the most ancient and primitive feelings, and the sense smell arises only when you inhale and you need to sneeze. So scientists suggest that the molecule of the smelling substance approaches the receptors and fits into special shells, which can have the shape corresponding to the shape of the molecule and principle of the key and lock. Okay, so the molecule substance should be catched by our receptors. So based on this theory, a classification of the odors is proposed as putrefactive, spicy, ethereal, mint, floral, musky, camphor, etc. So the molar mass of aromatic substances, as a rule, doesn't exceed 300 gram in a mole. So the smell is more pronounced in those substances whose the molecules have a branched carbon skeleton. So chemical compounds, the smell of the which a person can detect with the lowest concentration of the substances in the air, it's the vanillin. So it's the enough just at 10 minus 11th degree of the gram of the vanillin per 1 liter of the air. So it's very sensitive to the smell. So it means to catching these molecules of the substances for first it should be more odor than taste and greater variety of the others from the taste. So these substances needs to be volatile enough and to get into air and in the sensory region. Yeah, so also should be partially or absolutely soluble in mucus covering of our receptors. And the minimum number of the other molecules need to be present and they need to be in contact with the receptors for minimum time. So it's the four main factors that determine to catch this or detect the smell. So the science of odor treatment is called aromatherapy. So it was noticed that smells of myrtle, lemon, mint have a tonic effect on the nervous system, and the aromas of the roses, jasmine, lavender is soothing, and the smell is pyridine and toluene increase the acuity of the night vision, and smells of the benzene, granule increase the acuity of the hearing. So when a person is afraid, adrenaline is released and dog know this and run after him with a bark. Yeah, so it's also kind of the chemical. So what about the chemical composition of the smell? So as you can see, there is kind of the substances and their chemical structure. So those are which is identify and gives the smell of this certain kind of the food product. Okay, so ethynyl acetate is kind of the smell of the beer. Butyl isosolbutyrate of the fluid. Cis-3-hexanyl acetate is smell of the banana, etc. So, which is giving the fragrance substances. It should be aromatic, and first group is esters. So it's a group of fragrant substance that components of fruits essence. So you can see demonstrative group from this. And also they name it by the food products which is giving the certain smell. So it's the Hempstead chili, Hempstead nutmeg, Hempstead beetroot, coriander, coffee, tea, chocolate, grapefruit, and etc. All of them which is given. So what is the common with the chemistry of the chocolate? So it's the cacao solid and theobromine, vanillin, stearic acids, which is all of the as a compounds from the chocolate, and which is giving the um, certain taste. Okay, so in the dark chocolate, it has been highest amount of the cacao solid, so which is the main after cacao butter. So it's extracted from cacao beans, and the solid contain theobromine, toxic to dogs, and phenylethylamine linked to a feel-good effect. And some kind of vanillin, butyric acid, palmitic, stearic acid, which is used for the producing the chocolate. What about the aroma of the fresh baked bread? So as ingredients, we understand that this kind of the ingredients and then some kind of technological processes which is occurs in as a fermentation the baked bread, and the finally it's the baking. So it's the high temperature uh, making possibility to volatile the compounds or conformity. So a selection of the scientific aroma compounds, it was a maltol, isomaltol, acetyl, acetylpyrroline, acetyl ethyl tetrahydropyridine. So it's the key adherent in a wheat bread crust responsible for cracker-like properties. Also, maltol and isomaltol is formed from the D-fructose, so well-known contributes to bread and bread crust flavor and aroma. So, of course, we couldn't define just one kind of the ingredients or smell because all of the food products have more ingredients as the final product. For chemistry of the tea, so polyphenols and alkaloids, which is occur in the tea, so it's the given the specific aroma of them. So it's kind of the polyphenols, catechins, and citral. So for coffee, of course, first it's the caffeine, yeah. So it's the main uh, group of the compound, and then as a selection of aroma compounds in brewed coffee or chemical compounds of the roasted coffee beans and contain the over extraction yields and during coffee brewing. So there is about 10 to 25% of non-polar compounds and polar compounds about 75 and 100%. What about the chemistry of the honey? So when bees harvested nectar, so it's stored in their honey stomachs and separate from their normal stomach, and nectar is mixed with enzymes which is to break down the larger sugars in the nectar, such as sucrose, and smaller sugars, glucose and fructose. So for HRB, they passed it on the house bee who requires and drinks the nectar over 20-minute period and breaking down the larger sugars further. So it's kind of the glucose, fructose, gluconic acid, hydroxy peroxide. So what is the interesting fact for about smell sense? So it's the olfactory receptor cells are updated every 28 days. So it's every 4 weeks we get a new nose. It means recover the new receptors olfactory system. And people living in the mega cities don't notice 70% of the smell, but those who live in the wild can even catch the scent of a friend walking along the road. So lavender is the one of the most powerful antidepressants. So it's the worth a few minutes inhale the aroma of the flowers and bad mood will be disappear immediately. In fact, the smell of coins is not smell of the metal. It's the format from the bonds with organic substances, for example, human sweet or wherever it's the smell appeared enough minimum contact. So we should understand that for the catching the smell, it should be a volatile compound. So metal, when we have a metal, so of course the molecule it doesn't volatile at first, and then it's not as a partially released in our mucose in our olfactory system. So in this case, we can smell those kind of the material. And last, it turns out of the many people have their favorite aromas, but also animals. For example, cats like the smell of the valerian and mints, and camel like tobacco smoke, etc. So human nose is about mm, uh, more sensitive to odors and any physical chemical analysis, and had been demonstrated by the gas chromatograph uh, methods. So, for example, ethyl mercaptan, which is giving for us as a smell of the gas is the kind of the substances which is uh, given the concentration with the gas, because naturally gas have any smell. So thank you for your attention, and hope that it was interesting lecture for you.